Welcome to the Folk Alliance International AGM here for 2018. Why are you all up this early in the morning? It's the free coffee and continental breakfast. We know that's why you're here. We do ask that you guys sign in, if you would, on the sheets on all the tables. We'd love to know who has attended here at the AGM. I will now call this meeting to order. I'm just going to start with a couple of opening remarks about how incredible it is that we gather here every year. That we all come together as part of this community and celebrate each other, we learn from each other, and we move not just the business of music forward, but the passion of music forward. And you guys are an incredible part of what makes that happen. So thank you all for being here this morning, this early morning, after night number 1 of partying all night and seeing all the music you can. There are several days to go, and so keep that in mind. Hydrate, put on sunscreen, and it seems counterproductive, but do go outside now and again. There's air out there, and sometimes there's sun, and the weather right now is beautiful, and it's in the 60s, and you should get outside and realize that we all live in a world out there as well as in here. Kansas City is a beautiful city. They've been our host city now for several years, and we absolutely love it here. So thank you guys for being here. I just want to say a few quick remarks before we get to our reports. I want to acknowledge a few of our outgoing board members. We've had 5 board members change this year. We had 2 leave earlier this summer. We had Ralph Jacquedine and Chetu Kosatani Buckner step down. And we have also had 3 whose terms ended this year, including Erica Wallum-Nichols, who sadly can't be here, but also Tim McFadden, right here, who sadly can be here, or sadly chose to be here this morning, and also Donald Davidoff, who has served as treasurer since 1943 here at the Folk Alliance International. Served us well. He knows where everybody is buried, so we had to let him go. But thank you guys so much for your long service, and thanks to all of the former board members of Folk Alliance International. Actually, if you are a former board member of Folk Alliance International, if you would stand up or raise your hand, just so we can see how many of you are in the room. Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks, so much. You folks are the reason we're still here doing this, and that the organization is still doing well and has a future. So thank you for building that foundation for us to keep building on. I would like to welcome our new board members to the board here. We've got Greg Torrington came on earlier this year. Greg? Let's stand up as I say your name. Gil Gastelum. Gary Picosa, Denise Stiff, and Laura Thomas. These are our newest board members. I'm sure they're all familiar faces to you because they're an essential part of the fabric of this community. So we're thrilled to have them joining us on the board of directors. We'll be hearing from Angus in just a little bit, but we're going to start us off because Donald Davidoff always told us numbers are sexy. We're going to start off with the treasurer's report. Please welcome up Alka Sharma.
I wanted to personally thank Donald Davidoff for all the years that he put in being treasurer on the board of directors, and as well as staying on the finance committee for the past year and helping with this transition. Also, thank you to FAI's executive director Angus Finnan and our operations director Jennifer Rowe, and also Lou DeMarco and Michael Kornfeld, who sit on the finance committee. I'm very pleased to report to the membership that our finances are strong. Through the careful diligence of our executive director and the general oversight and the financial prudence of our board, we had just over $790,000 in liquid assets at the end of 2017, which does not include another almost $160,000 in accounts receivable and prepaid expenses against current liabilities just under $33,000. We again received an unqualified audit for our last fiscal year. And once again, for those of you not familiar with the audit lingo, that's a good thing. It doesn't mean we didn't qualify, it means there were no qualifications or reservations to the audit. We continue to be debt-free. That represents the commitment to financial prudence this board and Angus have lived up to as stewards of our mission and you, the members' money. These accomplishments position us very well to continue to prosper as the nation benefits from solid, though still somewhat uncertain economic growth. This 5th conference in Kansas City is proving to top our conference last year from both mission and financial perspectives. Not an easy task given how great last year was. We are in a secure position as we continue to build on our presence here in Kansas City, which has positioned us to take risks in expanding our mission, outreach, and programming, as well as to prepare for the 2019 conference in Montreal, which I'm very excited about. I hope you are too. As we look towards the rest of 2018, we expect financial conditions to be stable, though it's impossible to predict exactly what shocks might come to the economy. Your board and staff continue to focus on what is necessary to protect and even improve our financial condition. So looking forward to the great rest of the conference and a great year. And now I'd like to introduce Folk Alliance International's Executive Director, Angus Finnan.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks for being here. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that we're on the traditional lands of the Kansas Nation, and it's an important part of what we acknowledge and part of the programming as we go into a second year having a formal Indigenous program and official showcase stage here at Folk Alliance. It gives me great pleasure to be here and to give you this overview and report. I am proud to serve you as your executive director and couldn't be on a stage with a more esteemed group of directors representing you, the people. On your tables, you'll see a copy of the annual report. This is the second year that we have printed an annual report in this way. It's been provided to all of our members and community stakeholders in digital format and available to anyone who requests it in print format. This is really an effort by the staff to create a document that demystifies what we do year-round, that highlights the charitable mission and activities of the organization, and that puts into perspective our story, including our financials. Something that that we feel is really important for members to have access to and be aware of, but also something that becomes a storytelling piece in the community as we talk to funders and other community partners around what it is we do. And increasingly, we've found that this has opened the doors and windows of Folk Alliance to other folks who might not have really understood what it was that Folk Alliance did or what this community is. And I think that has led to definitely led to growth in partnerships and certainly to a greater awareness of who we are and what we do. This year, in conjunction with a value statement that we issued last year, which was really putting in writing and vocalizing what some of the core values of Folk Alliance are as a community, organization, and industry. We issued a value statement related to harassment and discrimination, and our values as it related to diversity, inclusion, and internationalism. This is the second year that we've been working under that value statement. We reissued it recently, but this year, in conjunction with some of our training, the Standing Up for Racial Justice training, and also a community gathering that's happening in this room on Friday at noon, we will be having a training session for everyone, a community training session related to harassment and discrimination. There is no more relevant topic in the music community, including the folk community. We are not immune to it. Our festivals, our venues, the bars, the hallways, our own events. And it's important that we are all on the same page and that we're all having this conversation. This is a pledge that was created by our advocacy committee that our board and myself went through a training yesterday and have signed on to. This is a pledge that's actually up on a banner at on the side wall, which you are welcome to pick up a Sharpie and sign on to as well. It's a statement that we believe is important for us to consider, to state, to say, and for those who feel comfortable signing on to it, that this is a collective call to action. This is an alliance. We are a folk alliance, and that's deeper than just music. That is also about how we care for each other. So please do take some time to read over that pledge and to sign on. It's up there on the wall. It will be around the conference at different places throughout the weekend. One of the important parts of our strategic plan has been tactical and intentional international expansion and inclusion. So that has led to some very tactical placement of Folk Alliance in community and industry events around the world. This isn't necessarily new, but there has certainly been an expanded effort to connect with markets that are relevant and partners that are relevant to our membership for their career and market development, and also to ensure that the folk genre is represented inside music industry events, and that our organization and the genre is elevated within those events, and that artists and industry who consider themselves to be part of the folk music genre and our organization have a place to call home within these events. Part of the work of refining our internal office processes and managing our data has been looking at and tracking some of the services and the trends in our membership. One of the things that Jared Rivers, who's our membership manager, has been doing is really looking at the trends in terms of account renewals, and it's something that informs some of the decisions that we make, but strategically, some of the services that as an organization we hope to expand for membership, but also some of the benefits and communication around the benefits of the membership in terms of the year-round activities that we do, not just as it relates to discounted registration to the conferences. Our regions continue to be the local grassroots lifeblood of Folk Alliance. They bring together local communities and a more regional touring and industry market experience for artists. For many, it's the entry point into Folk Alliance as a community, and we're proud of the work that's done by the 5 regions, their boards of directors, and the success and growth of their conferences. For the 3rd year in a row, this past year in Baltimore, we held our regional leaders retreat. So this is the chair of our regions committee, our board president, senior staff, and then the board presidents or their representatives from each one of the regions. So we gather for 2 days to talk about governance, best practices for nonprofit management, and obviously ways that we can collaborate and help ensure that the regions have the support of our office, but that things are as consistent as possible while still preserving the unique qualities of each one of the regional conferences. In terms of partnerships, it was also important that we look at our peer organizations. And last year, we thought that it would be important to focus on building bridges with some of those organizations that operate similar events and have similar communities, but with whom we didn't yet have strong ties in terms of collaboration. So last year, Folk Alliance International convened a meeting of the executive directors of the 4 major international organizations: Folk Alliance International, Barbara Newman with the Blues Foundation, Jed Hilly of the Americana Music Association, and Paul Schimminger of the International Bluegrass Musicians Association, IBMA. So we met in Nashville to talk as peers, as executive directors, about our organizations, about our processes, the strengths and challenges that we had as personal employees of organizations and leaders in the field, and then also to look strategically at how we might work more collaboratively together in the future. Our local impact here in Kansas City has an impact, a real impact, not just in terms of the economic return for this city, which is assessed annually by Visit KC, but certainly in terms of our presence and our partnerships here. It has been a remarkable city for Folk Alliance. The Renaissance feel of this city, the pride and the cultural sector investment in the story of the city and the success of the city is really seen in how we have been welcomed and the ease with which we are able to partner and find resources and events and organizations to work with year-round. Last year, as this is a review of our past year, and the annual report that you have before you is up to the end of our fiscal year, which is the end of June 2017. So all of the data in that relates to last year's conference, but I just want to sort of flash back to last year and the celebration of our Forbidden Folk theme. It was a remarkable conference year. We exceeded our highest numbers by almost 400 new delegates last year, 1,000 of those as first-time attendees. I didn't think that we would, be able to do it again in terms of cresting those numbers with the 30th, and felt that the theme and the momentum around things last year had a particular draw to it. But in fact, we have crested those numbers again this year. So it's a testament, I think, also to the success of the event last year in terms of how it was run, and to that I take my hat off to our staff, but also to the momentum that's happening within this community and the folk music genre, which in my view is more alive now than ever and certainly growing. So building on that success, we've incorporated many things into this year's conference that are becoming part of the permanent trademark of the event. Our folk DJs, just want to highlight the fact that we value many different segments of our community and industry. The folk DJs, we are proud to support through the launch last year of the Folk DJ Hall of Fame, by supporting the fundraising efforts of the folk DJ community itself around the Folk DJ Scholarship, which we support, and Folk Alliance now taking on the domain of the Folk DJ listserv, which Richard Gilman for 20 years did on a voluntary basis. We have a great task force, Mary Sue Tui and Carrie Estrin leading up the charge on that with others in the community, and we are very proud to be involved with that, and also looking at this spring the launch of a 3-month trial period of the NAC chart for the folk DJ community to be involved with, and we'll speak more to that in the days to come, but it's an exciting development and one that we hope many people will be involved with. In terms of advocacy, we continue to be involved on a national level with several coalitions. We participate in local, state, and federal conversations around policy and regulations. And we have several items internally that our own advocacy committee is developing and championing, including the health of our artists, issues related to harassment and discrimination, and the exploration of data related to a potential PRO agreement with coffee houses, similar to our coffee house agreement. In terms of our community outreach, these are photos from last year. We continue around the conference to do outreach into schools and hospitals in Kansas City with artists who are here for the conference. But increasingly, those outreach activities are things that, as we establish our roots here in Kansas City, we're able to do on an ongoing basis. That includes outreach beyond Kansas City to our own membership and beyond. And this year we launched a webinar series providing 3 different sessions free to members. One was surrounding basic bookkeeping for artists, another on visa regulations for artist entry into the US, and a conference survival guide, a primer for first-timers, and a refresh for veterans. 3 years ago, we launched an artist in residency program, and this was designed to provide opportunities for folk musicians to work with and partner with organizations that we wouldn't necessarily think of as being inside the folk music realm. We started with the Kansas City Ballet. We went on to work with the National World War I Museum, and last year had 2 projects, including work with the Correctional Facility in Topeka and the KCPT. This year, our artist in residence is Henry Nam, and he is a percussive guitar player, lives on the East Coast, and is partnered with UMKC's Math and Stats Department and the Art Institute of Kansas City. And they're looking at the relationship between music and math, and it's a very interesting display that's going to be done. That's at 4 o'clock on Saturday, preceding Mary Chapin Carpenter's keynote address. We took on a few exceptional projects this year for our 30th, and it was no small feat, but in celebration of the 60th anniversary of the Recording Academy and our 30th anniversary, we participated this year in New York by hosting a celebration of the Best Folk Album nominees at Joe's Pub. It was a remarkable event, well attended and received, including folks from the Recording Academy. We were thrilled to be able to be on that type of stage with the banner of folk held proud, and certainly a gathering of many artists from other genres as well. It was a strategic effort as well in terms of ensuring that folk is part of the conversation at the highest industry level. So that noise you heard in January was Folk Alliance pulling its share up at the table. And it's an important table to be at in order to have representation. We're also very proud to have several members of the Recording Academy here this weekend, and please do stop into their 101 panel to have a better understanding of how the Academy works, what membership looks like, what the submissions and nominations process are. It is our category, and the only way for us to own that category is to be invested in it and to be aware of it and to be submitting to it. So please do be engaged in that conversation. The annual reports before you also have a snapshot of our finances. This is just to provide a breakdown of where the revenue comes from that makes this all happen year-round, and where that revenue goes in terms of what it is we do that costs money to not just put on this event, but to operate throughout the year, including all of these outreach activities and initiatives. You'll see that there's a slim profit on year-end, but this does mark the 3rd year that we've operated above the $1 million mark, and over a decade of operating in the black. So something to be very proud of, and that slim profit. That profit each year is important because that goes into the reserve, and the reserve is our stability and our future. So it's an important figure to watch each year. That growth has required support across the board, and it's important to us that not just be registration and membership that's bringing in that revenue. And part of our focus on development has been expanding those relationships and providing more stability in terms of what it is that we offer and provide. Diversifying the revenue helps us keep our costs down. It also engages a wider community. And having a dedicated development manager in this role has helped establish growth in these 4 areas in particular. We've seen a 16% increase in barters, 34% increase in grants, 38% in sponsorship, and 64% in donations, which is no small feat. We have an annual fundraising campaign each fall as we come to the end of our fiscal year end. And this year we published a small brochure on supporting the future of folk that outlines the different ways that folks can be involved in supporting Folk Alliance and our mission and the activities of the organization year round. I do want to acknowledge from last year all of the donors. They're listed inside the annual report. For the 3rd year in a row, we had 100% participation of our entire board of directors as donors to the organization, and 100% participation of the staff of Folk Alliance as donors to the organization. That's in addition to the support of a very large community and some key donors who annually support what we do, donors who provide matching funds to encourage and incentivize others to donate at whatever level, and adding to last year's 100% participation rate, this year 100% of our contractors have also been donors. So to me, this is a strong sign of the investment beyond this moment, beyond the conference, in the bigger picture and the bigger story of what we're doing. This is a snapshot of our donor wall to date on the website, and we encourage you to drop by at that and to thank anyone that you see that has their donor badge on today. We are coming to the end of our lease in the River Market office. We are about to sign on to a new lease in the Crossroads District. We are thrilled to be here in Kansas City, and although obviously the conference is moving to Montreal next year, our operations remain here, our staff remain here, and we have been able to broker an arrangement with a developer in the Crossroads area that is an ideal scenario for them as a developer looking to have a cultural sector organization come in and activate their space, and for us to be able to do that at with a very unique and advantageous leasing arrangement for us based on our commitment to programming in our space for the community. So it's on mission for us, it's of interest at the community level for the developer, and a win-win scenario for both organizations. Last night, I hope many of you were able to attend the awards show at the Folly Theater. We were in fine form, and it was a beautiful space to be in to celebrate the 30th and to kick things off. Even wrapped up with a 100-member chorale, a local choir, high school choir that came in to finish off the night. It was a remarkable evening. Do make sure that if you're able to get over to the Louis J. Myers Music Camp, that starts on Friday and runs through to Sunday. It does require sign up for the classes, but there's a remarkable roster of workshops and instructors. And on Sunday, the Kansas City Folk Festival, where we take the same ballroom floor and it becomes a folk festival as opposed to a conference. It is a ticketed event, open to the public. The exhibit hall changes into an artisans market. It's going to spread out into the foyer and down into the terrace area with jewelers and painters and potters. Flaco Jimenez and Mary Chapin Carpenter being the headliners of the Sunday event. This is our 30th, and we are thrilled to have you here with us to celebrate 30 years. I want to take a moment just now to acknowledge two folks who are here in the room who are part of the foundation of this organization. We wouldn't be here celebrating our 30 years if they hadn't given their time, their passion, their thought to this organization. So if you wouldn't mind standing Art Minius and Phyllis Barney for our initial manager and the executive director. And of course, remembrance of our dear friend, Louis J. Myers. I want to share one little success story locally here. For the second year in a row, Folk Alliance International has been the recipient of 2 years ago it was 2 awards, this year it was 3 awards for marketing in the nonprofit sector. This was looking at our entire marketing program for the conference last year. Nonprofit Connect is a local agency, and we came home with 3 awards from that evening, which is no small feat, with over 1,000 nonprofits in the area. And while it's not all about the awards, it's nice to know that, that what we're doing and how we do it, and the work that's put in by the staff to look at the bigger picture and the bigger story, also has its place and its resonance out in the community, and to be acknowledged in this way locally meant a lot to all of us. You may have heard that in September we launched a micro conference called The Exchange in Clonakilty, Ireland. This was a very boutique event to bring together some of the Irish folk music industry along with select industry from North America. It was a first outing outside of North America as a Folk Alliance International produced event. There was a remarkable turnout. It exceeded all of our expectations and that of our funders, Culture Ireland, who were supportive of the project, and Cork County. We learned a lot of incredible things from it, and really looked to this type of event as a way to have a springboard for artists and industry in other markets to sort of get primed for what the Folk Alliance experience is before coming to North America, but also to create a bit of a landing pad for our artists and industry from North America to be able to come into familiar territory in other markets. This year, the exchange is going to be held in Gothenburg, Sweden. This is taking place in April, the 9th to the 11th. This is in collaboration with the music export offices of Denmark, Norway, Finland, and Sweden, as well as the partnership of Estonia. And I just want to introduce Åke Lundström, who is our Nordic representative. Åke, if you could just give a quick hello there. And he is spearheading the everything behind the scenes for this. You can find him in the exhibit hall and chat with him. It is limited registration. There are 100 registrations available for this. We have folks already coming on board. Obviously, this is focused on the industry in the Nordic countries. It's not showcase focused. It's more about industry networking. There will be some music there, obviously. But if anyone is interested, please do stop by and talk to Åke about the exchange in Gothenburg. Our conference pricing continues to remain one of the lowest priced conferences in the industry. You may not feel that if you waited until January to buy your registration, but this is the comparative chart showing how low it is priced in relation to others. This year we did a $30 discount off our early bird at $220, and that is something to consider in terms of when you purchase your registrations. Speaking of registrations, next year we are in Montreal, 2019. We couldn't be happier to be coming back to such a beautiful city, such a supportive community, and such a rich musical province. It is our Canadian edition, so it is a Canadian conference and will reflect the music of all of the provinces and territories of Canada, but it is certainly something that is this event in a different country. For those of you who haven't been to any of the events outside of the US, we do encourage you to come up. It's the 50th anniversary in the hotel that we'll be at of John Lennon and Yoko Ono having their bed in and writing "Give Peace a Chance" in that hotel. and we're certainly going to explore that. But the so the theme is the spirit of creativity. I should have started with the theme, then it would have made more sense. But we're going to be looking at it in a more esoteric way at the nature of art, where ideas come from, why people commit their lives to the creation of art, what is inspiration, what does collaboration look like, the tension between product and process, and in that context, we will explore the moment of the bed-in. Conference registration is actually on sale starting today for Montreal, and you'll see now that if you're a member and you purchase now, it is $220. That's until the end of this month. Then our early bird pricing will go into effect, and when that ends, it will open up to general industry, so non-members as well. This takes us, finally, just to some notes about our future dates. We do have contracts in place for 5 future editions of the conference. Obviously, next year we are in Montreal. In 2020, we have a contracted city. We are not announcing that city until next year. We are not announcing that because it is important that we have you with us in Montreal. So come to Montreal and we'll tell you where we'll be the next year. But the dates are online. It's a January date for our 2020 conference. And then we are thrilled to announce that we will be coming back to Kansas City. We've signed a 3-year contract with Kansas City. It's non-consecutive, so we're coming back for 2 years. We're going to be out for 2 years in Montreal and the Mystery City. We'll come back in for 2 years. We'll go out again for a year and back into Kansas City. So we have used this as a home base, a familiar territory, a property that we all know well, but that we also take advantage of other opportunities to get into new markets, new cities, develop new relationships, bring new musical communities in, and then we'll all come back here, gather our resources, and get back out into a new territory. And in that way, toggling in and out, we have the benefits of both worlds. There was a good reason to stay put for a while. We're at a place where we have the capacity and the reach and the support and vision of a board and staff that are able to see the benefits of being in different areas and manage the challenges of being there. So please do join us and jot down your dates. And finally, my thanks once again to this board of directors. I couldn't ask for a more dedicated, passionate, and detail-oriented board. It's an incredible amount of work that goes on behind the scenes. They all do this on a voluntary basis, 3-year terms, 2 years by appointment, and many of them serving multiple terms. They are your voice at the table. They represent you as the members and extended community, and I can assure you that they work and fight hard for the things that are important, not just in the moment, but strategically. And so I'm just going to say my profound thanks. And finally, to my staff, I'm the one who gets to stand at the podium and walk out in the spotlight, but none of this happens without the staff of Folk Alliance. They work beyond capacity, and that's something we're going to work on so that we actually can all have more work-life balance. But it is a testament to the passion that they have for who you are and what you are doing. Many of them were not part of the folk music community before. They weren't necessarily musicians. They came in to do a job, but they've fallen in love with you and this community, and it shows in the care that they bring to the work that they do. I couldn't be prouder to work with them daily. They are like family. When you see them around with the staff badges, please do thank them, because all of this is because of the work that they do year round. My pleasure. Thank you.
Given that we've thanked the board and the staff, I do want to extend an extra thank you to Angus Finnan, who is our incredible executive director. Without the stewardship of people like all the former board members, Art and Phyllis and Louis J. Myers, of course, we would not be here, but we would not continue into the future in the way that we are without Angus. And as this community grows and truly becomes international, as we welcome people from around the world and celebrate other cultures, it is important for us to gather. As we all live in our social media echo chambers, it is essential for us to gather together physically, in person, interact one-on-one, face-to-face. It makes a huge difference. Even this, the board gathers in person twice a year, and we have phone calls, the other board meetings, and the in-person meetings are the most productive ones. Because we are able to truly interact with one another and be together in a room, and it makes a big difference. And we really appreciate you all being here for this meeting early in the morning, coming to our early morning showcase here. Are there any questions for the board or for Angus? Yes.
Hi. I ask this question every year. I think if you on the podium might know where I'm going, but I'm Kerry Baker. I run a company called Conqueroo in Los Angeles. It took me a while to become a participant and a fan of Folk Alliance, but finally, due to the persistence of many on the podium, I'm here. There's no getting rid of me. I love it. I commend Angus and the entire board on 30 years, and I'm blown away by the organization, the passion, and everything else. With the Folk Alliance's sensitivity to safety and also to health, there are various health screenings. Some of you may notice that January is flu season. I found myself last Saturday and Sunday dousing myself with echinacea, zinc, and other herbal supplements because I was determined to make it, and I think I licked them. Others are not so fortunate. Is there a reason that this conference, and I did see the schedule for the next several years, is there a reason that this must be January? You guys can own November. It would be a great time for travel. And I understand that a lot of artists are off the road in January, but that doesn't seem to be a factor for either Americana Fest nor IMBA. Simply, folk acts and Americana acts would route themselves through this part of the country at that time. Might there be any thought of moving it to another time of year? And I also have heard that it's because the regionals convene in late fall. Well, you guys are the nationals. Tell the regionals when they're to meet. Maybe it's easier for the regionals to get together this time of year than for people to go to Montreal, from California. So pardon my bold assertion here, but it's all in the interest of constructive input.
And honestly, it's a discussion that has come up with the board many times. So, we hear your feedback. We listen to your feedback, and we have to take many things into consideration. It's not just the regions and touring schedules. There's availability issues, there's contract issues, and things like that. So we're always. There's not an answer to the question. There's not a direct answer to the question that says this is why we are doing it this week. But it is on the table for us to continue the conversation of, is there a better time? So the question stands, and the question will be discussed with the board as we move to the future. We're contracted now for several years, but we're always willing and able to have the discussion. So thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that up, and it will certainly be discussed in board meetings. Yes.
It's unfortunate that there's no sound reinforcement here on the floor, but
She can't. She can't.
she can. This is why it's.
You'll go to the mic. They're going to bring a mic to you.
Thank you. More than 30 years ago, I got a phone call saying, "Would you like to go to Malibu in January?" And I said, "Sure." And the caller said, "Do you care why?" I said, "Of course not." It was a friend with whom I'd been doing a festival in Vermont. And sure enough, I went to Malibu, and I was part of the group of people who created the beginning of Folk Alliance. Folk Alliance has continued to create itself over the years. And as I went to the early conferences, I would always ask people that I knew had been in Malibu, "So, what do you think of our organization that we thought up?" And mostly people would say, "Oh, it's terrific, oh, it's this." Some people would say, "Well, you know, the problem with Folk Alliance is," and I would always invite them to help to solve the problem if they had so clearly pointed it out. Last night, I was part of a conversation in which someone said, "Well, in Malibu, did you really think you'd still be around 30 years later?" I did. I did not go to Malibu and spend the time and energy that we did, first of all, thinking up the name. And I tell you, you may laugh at our name, but it was a hard-fought thing because we wanted the name to reflect all of what we wanted Folk Alliance to be. And yes, I thought that we would still be here 30 years later. And I think that we will be here, if we are all here, 30 years from now as well, if we all keep working at it. We've made huge progress. All sorts of things have been accomplished that way back in those early years, people said, "Fogies, organize." Yes, Fogies, organize. We've done it. We can continue to do it. There are shortcomings in the organization, but there are tremendous strengths in this organization. And when people say to me, if I mention Folk Alliance, they say, "Well, I can't really get anything out of Folk Alliance." I encourage them then to think in terms of giving to Folk Alliance. None of us came fully formed into this organization. All of us who have been touched by it have grown. And if you can't get anything out, give back some of what you've gotten from the community. How many people in this room are at Malibu? Oh. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Earlier this year, as a board, we got to revisit Malibu. We had our mid-year board meeting in the retreat center where the first meeting happened, and there was such power to that. If you saw there was a photograph of all the original founders out in the parking lot of the retreat center. We recreated that 30 years later, and it was an incredible thing. And it is not lost on us how important it was, not just for the idea to have happened, but for people to have stuck with it and continued, knowing that yes, in 30 years that's still going to be there. And I fully agree, in 30 years we're still going to be here. So thank you Thank you. Were there any other final questions? We need to wrap up because we have more board meetings. So let's do Ann and Mike.
Oh, I got a very specific double question about the awards ceremony, which I thought was really great, and I'm glad that I went. But I noticed that a lot of people didn't go because it wasn't in the hotel. So even though it was at a great location, I hope that you'll consider having everything under one roof again so that everybody will attend. I was astounded when I came back here and saw that there were so many people that clearly hadn't gone. But it was a great award show, and I was so happy that I went. But I also noticed that of the 3 Lifetime Achievement Awards, the one to Peter, Paul, and Mary never happened, and I wonder if you could address that.
Well, there were numerous issues around the Peter, Paul, and Mary one that we felt that the honor is given, and we didn't put it in the public forum. As far as the move to the theater, that was a special thing for the 30th anniversary, and it was a beautiful event, and that is not necessarily a model for the future. We, having events under one roof makes a lot of sense, and we hope to continue to do awards shows here if there's a need for larger space like that, as there was last night. And if you did go, thank you. If you didn't go, you missed one great show. So yes, we're still talking about putting that back in here. And Mike?
Yeah, I just want to say this report is a remarkable document for anybody that's involved with any other nonprofit or for-profit organizations. It's great to define what your bottom lines are besides just your finance, and this shows what we accomplished as an organization. We can all learn from this. Great.
And as a final note before we adjourn, I do recommend that folks take a look at the commitment to a safe music community banner over here and sign on and be a part of what we think is an important, not just an important, an essential part of who we are as a community and who we are as leaders in something that needs to be addressed and that should be addressed, and we're going to stay on the right side of it. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second, third, fourth.
All in favor? Aye. Sensing no objection. Who moved? Yeah, actually, I heard a voice, but I didn't see one. And seconded. Thank you, Dan. And seconded.
And third and fourth.
And third and fourth. Do we have one quick comment here?
There's a special motion that everybody here will be in Montreal next year.
Yes, absolutely. Sensing no objection, we've adjourned. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you at the showcases. Board members, we're doing a staff and board photo, so please don't leave yet.